Music magazines are agonizingly boring things to read, don't you think? Oh, I feel so old. Music magazines are agonizingly boring things to read. The only way I get around town is on public transportation. It's a lie. Cabs are expensive, and I don't own a car because I like drinking too much. It's sort of half true. It's nice to see the city, isn't it, when you ride the bus, and all the freaks in the window of a bus. If I take the underground to get to a sound check on time, or late in this case, for instance, I'll read a book. But never will I read a music magazine. If you're reading this somewhere, you're an optimistic son of a bitch. I think you're looking for knowledge in the wrong place, my friend. Let me tell you why. The band interview. This is the worst place to look for good information. In the unlikely event that the musicians in the band might have something interesting to say about politics or art, or automobile sabotage, it still won't make it to print because the journalist wants to write about music. On and on they will blather about music, how they came to make music, how they made music, how they make music, why some music is better or worse than other music. If people see you reading this vacant trash in the office, they'll think you're simple. The album review. If you want to find out which records to buy, make life more bearable. You will never be able to choose by reading record reviews. It is the journalist's job to review records accurately, but it is their fear that they will get it wrong. And fear always wins. Therefore, they will never stick their neck out to say something great unless they've read it somewhere else 5 or 6 times. And they won't have the courage to say something is crap for fear that they missed their point. So they will take easy shots at weak albums, champion the safest middle of the road poop until told to do otherwise. The feature. This is a strange thing where the journalist reprints the band's press release and biography. It will say what the record company wants to appear in the magazine. Sometimes the journalist will add or subtract things, but not often. The live review. This is very interesting to the musicians who are being reviewed. Hopefully the live review will say what they wish to hear, that they rocked, crooned, sweated, swooned, and possibly they did. There may actually be some truth in these reviews. They took to the stage, the sound was off, and people loved it. But it's dull as the wrong end of a nail to read about it. The ads. They all say, "Out now!" somewhere in the ad, and I want to fucking murder them. The photography. Getting to the point. A hefty amount of money, energy, and hair gel is wasted on photo shoots for these magazines. Firstly, the band already has thousands of photographs of itself which could be used. But because the magazine prides itself on a job well done and wants exclusivity, they will spend up to 20 grand hiring a photographer, a stylist fag, a wardrobe bitch, a makeup chick, always gets laid, and catering to make the band, all to make the band look exhausted. You can cut out a sexy photo of your favorite junkie and put it in your briefcase while people on the bus point and laugh at you. The classified ads. This is the only bit worth reading. And finally, it must be said, but not finally because there's a couple of finally, it must be said that the sheer number of bands being examined is staggering. How are you to sift through all that shit without feeling ashamed of yourself? Many years ago, on the way to a photo shoot for Rolling Stone magazine, I believe this is irony, but I'm not sure, I was stuck in the back of a van with a band in gridlock somewhere in Midtown Manhattan. Oh, aren't I special? The heat was relentless, as was the noise of car horns and sirens. Heat, car horns, and sirens. It was one of my very first visits to that place, and I was observing everything. I could see little things happening all around us. I remember this pretty vividly. It was pretty funny. Let me tell you that. On the right sidewalk, two old buggers had their sofa pulled right out and put up against a chain link fence in the middle of this insanity, and they were just sitting there chewing the fat. On the opposite sidewalk, there was this rich urban bitch with her dog, looking in a window at something and paying no attention to the sirens, which were putting pressure on all of us behind. Still gridlock, almost no motion. Our manager's assistant, who had been complaining of a hangover from a place called the Russian Samovar, named these flavored vodkas, came the night before. Suddenly, she barfs into a plastic bag. She wasn't done, and so she had to run into a Chinese restaurant to continue. The van edged towards the curb to let fire engines past. We had to wait for an old Chinaman to push his wheelie bag across the road. He parked it outside on a corner and then went in somewhere. The old guys were still talking above all this noise and gazing at the fancy dog, which was taking a dump on the sidewalk opposite them. The owner began the ungodly process of picking up the turd with some new newspaper. We were late for our important photo shoot. The traffic moved a few feet forward. The sirens were deafening. The woman with the dog and the turd in the paper looked around for a garbage can to put it into. Under the stress of the heat and noise and traffic, she mistook the Chinaman's wheelie bag for a garbage bin. In went the turd, and off she went. The old sages on the sofas looked on as the Chinaman came out, discovered the stinking shit in his trolley. He screamed into the day. I inhaled deeply on a special Camel cigarette, and as the manager's assistant climbed back in the van, we found an open lane of traffic to swing into. I was high on the moment. This was living. I turned to the drummer and I asked him if he saw any of what had just happened. But he had been reading a music magazine. And he missed it all! We got our photo into Rolling Stone magazine, and there was a little paragraph underneath that said something from our press release. I cut out an ad from the back of that magazine offering an item which could turn a harmonica into a MIDI synthesizer. Waste of money. Eventually got it. It was really bad. So you see, it is not only a waste of time to read music magazines, but they will seriously stifle your ability to observe the fascinating world around you. And indirectly, that Chinaman's outrage was caused by gridlock, which was caused by so many people going off to be in unnecessary magazine photo shoots in Manhattan, so that optimistic sons of bitches like you can read endless interviews with bands that don't bloody matter.